සංසාර සාරෝග විනීතනි සං සන්නේත සාතං සුචිසාරදේසං සන්දේරකං සොන්න තනුපලාසං සංලාපදේසින් පනමේ බිසාසං සංසාබිගංකේවල මෝහනාසං සන්නාහ කන්මාර රනේ විශේෂං සංසේවිතං දාසි මුදාරහාසං සංහාර ධම්මං පනමේ සදාසං සන්දාස ගන්නාසිත පාපනාසං සන්නාපදන්සින් හතගෝර පාසම් සම්පාරගාමින් සුචිසාරවාසං සංවාර සංඝං පනමේ රසාසං නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Homage to the exalted one, the worthy one, the supremely enlightened one. Sambhapapassa akaranam kusalassa upasampadam sacitta pariyodapanam etang buddhana sasanam Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko ehi passiko opanayiko paccantang veditambo vinyuhiti. Homage to the Supreme Buddha. Homage to the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha. Homage to the Mahasangha, the noble disciples of the Supreme Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Venerable sirs, nuns, friends in the Dhamma, just we started our monastic retreat conducted by the Bhavana Society, West Virginia, for 2025. In this retreat, we discussed the Buddha's message and also we practice it and also we share our knowledge with each other. This program mainly focuses on monastics, but our lay people who are Dhamma friends, you also have a chance to participate to this program. All of you are warmly welcome to the Bhavana Society with the blessings of the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. In this discussion, we are going to discuss the Buddha's message in short and the qualities of the Dhamma. What the Blessed One realized and also what he explained to the world and also what is the qualities of the Dhamma that the Buddha realized. When we see the Buddha's message, it is very clear, it is unique. When we consider the primary teachings of the Buddha, such as the karmic law, rebirth, these things are very common to other religions too. But when we come to the higher level, that based on ultimate truth, there we can see very special thing in Buddhism as the Blessed One explained. We can see a unique thing. That is why the Supreme Buddha says in his first sermon, He says, Pubbe anunusutisu dhammesu. I realize something that I have never heard. That is very important. That is the very special thing what the Buddha realized. Here we should understand the Buddha's message in short and long. Friends, in the Dhamma, when we see the Buddha's message, Buddha says very clearly, according to 𝒮𝓃 Sutta, which comes in Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha says, whether a Buddha appears or not in this world, this truth is forever. But we really appreciate the Buddha's teachings because in this eon is the person who firstly realized this message by himself. That is why we respect the Buddha, and also that is why we say this message to the Buddha Dhamma, the message of the Buddha. But the Dhamma is the eternal truth. That is very important. When we see the Buddha's message, Buddha says very clearly, it is like the ocean. The ocean deepens gradually from the beach to the deeper water. Buddha's message also like that. Anyone can understand something, since Buddha has explained from very beginning to the deeper level. When Buddha met a person, Buddha followed some orders, such as the Buddha says, දානකථා, සීලකථා, සග්ගකථා, කාමනං ආදීනවං, so on. දානකථා, the stories of generosity. Sīlakatha, the stories of virtue. Saggakatha, the path to a blissful life. Kāmanang ādīnavan, the danger of the sensual pleasure, etc. The Buddha explained the gradual path from beginning to end. There, first of all, Buddha explains the Ānupubbī Katha, the primary stories that belongs to the conventional truth. Dana, Sila and Bhavana. The Buddha says, when someone understands the primary things of the world, when their minds gain concentration and pure, Buddha explained the 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃, very special doctrines that belongs to the Four Noble Truths or the dependent origination. That belongs to 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃, it means very special message that directly helps us to overcome the samsaric circle. Here, Buddha says, in short, his message, Sabba Papa Sakaranam, not to do evil, Kusala Saupa Sampada, practicing good deeds, and Sachitta Pariyodapanam, purifying one's mind. Etang Buddhana Sasanam, this is the message of the Buddha. In short, which comes in Dhammapada. When we see this message, it is very clear what the Buddha explained to the world. What is the purpose of explaining these things to the world? The Buddha's main purpose was to point out the way how we overcome suffering. The Supreme Buddha says, in the past and the present, I explained only suffering and the cessation of suffering. Buddha realized and explained to the world suffering or unsatisfactoriness and how we overcome it. And also another time Buddha says, why do I need to explain this message? Why does a person should learn and find a spiritual path? There are three reasons why we should learn this message and also why we should find a spiritual teacher. Because of three reasons, three causes, we should find this message. What are the reasons, causes? One of them is jara or decay, aging. Day by day we are going to old age, decay. That is one of the reasons that we should find a spiritual path and a spiritual teacher. The second one, death. Because of death, we should find a spiritual teacher and his message. If we don't die, we don't need to practice the Dhamma. And also the special thing, the third one, birth, rebirth. That is the main reason why do we need to find a spiritual teacher and his message. If everything will finish after we die, we don't need to practice anything. As we like, we can spend our life. Because of rebirth, we should find a spiritual path and also we should practice it. According to the Thayo Dhamma Sutta, the Supreme Buddha explains these three things why we should find a spiritual teacher. Decay or jara, death, marana, and jati, rebirth or becoming. Because of these three things, we should practice Dhamma. On the other side, day by day, even though we wish to become the happiness, we are away from happiness. That is why we are unsatisfied. Therefore, we should find a path how we live happily. The Buddha says very clearly, Sabbang paravasan dukkhaṃ, sabbang attavasan sukham. If something depends on the outside world, that will end with suffering. We mostly depend on outside material world or persons. Our happiness mostly depends on the outside world. It means one day we have to leave everything. One day they will change. Then we will be suffering. If we can something in our hand that can be controlled by ourselves, that causes to happiness. Sabbang attavasan sukham. If you have something which can be controlled by ourselves, that is the real happiness. Therefore, Buddha says, how we make a real refuge? The way how we make a refuge is practicing Dhamma, especially practicing mindfulness. If we can practice mindfulness, we can completely control our life, reducing negative thoughts from our mind. And especially in Buddha's message, Buddha says very clearly, happiness depends on the purification of our mind. Buddha says, sacitta pariyodappanam, purifying one's mind. Why do we need to purify our mind? Whenever we have negative thoughts in our mind, actually we have no real happiness. There are three unwholesome mental states that disturb our peace of mind: craving or greed, anger or ill will, delusion or ignorance. These are the three things that disturb our peace of mind. By practicing Dhamma, gradually we overcome these negative thoughts from our mind. The more we practice Dhamma, the more we purify our minds from these negativities. The more we purify our mind from these negative thoughts, the more we are happier. And finally, we completely eradicate these negative thoughts from our mind by practicing Vipassana Bhavana or insight meditation. When we practice Dhamma, the Supreme Buddha says, from the beginning to end, we should fulfill four things in our spiritual life. We say them as Sotapattiyanga. The very first one is associating with good friends, good friendship. Having good friendship, we listening to this message. The second one is the listening to message, Saddhamma Savana. And Yoniso Manasikara, the third one. According to what we listening to, we reflect on it again and again. And also, Dhamma Patipada, practicing Dhamma. Associating with good friends, listening to Dhamma, wise consideration and practice. These four things are very important from the beginning to end of our spiritual path, spiritual journey. The more we associate with the good friends, the more we listen to Dhamma. The more we listen to Dhamma, the more we are confident in what the Blessed One explained. The more we have confidence in what the Buddha taught, the more we have energy, virya. The more we have energy, the more we are mindful. The more we are mindful, the more we can concentrate our mind, samadhi. The more we concentrate our mind, because we have already listened to message about the Four Noble Truths, we reflect on impermanence as it is. We cultivate panya, wisdom. These five things are very important. Five spiritual faculties. Saddha, confidence in what the Buddha taught. Virya, energy. Sati, mindfulness. Samadhi, tranquility or concentration. And panya, wisdom. These are the spiritual faculties we cultivate little by little when we practice Dhamma. For that, listening to Dhamma is very, very important. Here we should understand the qualities of the Dhamma. When we recite the formula of qualities of the Dhamma, we always chant that 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃 Dhammo. Dhamma is well expounded by the Blessed One. 𝒮𝓃, visible results. ℒ𝒶𝓃, immediately effective. 𝐴හිපස්සිකෝ, we can invite someone that come and see. ඕපනයිකෝ, leading onwards. And පච්චත්තං වේදිතබ්බෝ විඤ්ඤෝහි, it should be realized by the wise by his own understanding. These are the qualities of the Dhamma. The very first one is 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃 Dhammo. Dhamma is well expounded by the Blessed One. How did Buddha explain his message? Excellently. Ādi Kalyanam, Madhye Kalyanam, Pariyosane Kalyanam. Excellent is beginning. Excellent is middle. Excellent is the end. What is the beginning? Beginning is sila, virtue, moral conduct, discipline in our speech and behavior. Samadhi, concentration or tranquility is the middle. And the end is the wisdom, panya. These are the three things are very important and they are very beautiful and excellent. That's why we say as a quality of the Dhamma, 𝒮𝓃. Dhamma is well expounded by the Blessed One. And 𝒮𝓃, when we practice Dhamma in this immediate life, we can see the results. How do we see the results? When we practice dana or generosity, when you offer something to someone, our mind is so pure and calm, very happy. That is why the Buddha says, Pīti mudarang vindati data. He who has a generous heart gains a lot of happiness. Dana is very important. We always practice dana, as you know, amisa dana, the material giving, abhaya dana, giving fearlessness, and Dhamma dana, giving the gift of Dhamma. This is the way how we practice generosity. Generosity is very important. Not only we reduce our greed, but through practicing generosity, we have a special result. What is that? We meet good friends. When we are generous, honestly, we find the good persons in this world who know the Dhamma, who practice Dhamma. And also we can win friends, we can make friends by practicing Dana. That is why the Buddha says, Dadang mittani gantati. A person asks the Buddha, Bhante, katang mittani gantati, how do we make friends? The Buddha says, Dadang mittani gantati. He who practices generosity makes friends. Practicing dana or the generosity is the way how we make friends. And also we are happy when we are generous. The very special thing, when we practice Dhamma, our inner peace, our happiness gradually increases, develops, cultivates. And also when we practice sila or virtue, moral conduct, we have no regrets. We are happy about our character, our behavior, our speech and behavior. We have confidence in our character, our life. That is very important. Even though we have some mistakes, we have some techniques in Buddhism, how we overcome them. Through associating with the good friends, we understand the Dhamma, we overcome these negatives from our lives. Sila. And also Samatha Bhavana. By practicing Samatha Bhavana or concentration meditation, we can reduce hindrances, nivarana from our mind. Sensual pleasure, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, skeptical doubts. These are the negativities that we overcome by practicing Dhamma. As the result of reducing these negativities from our mind, we can cultivate happiness in our minds. There are jhana, anga, the facts of jhanas, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. There also we can see happiness, rapture. When we reduce hindrances from our minds, we can cultivate happiness in our mind, rapture, piti. We should go on this path with happiness. The more we practice Dhamma, the more we are happier. Sometimes some people may think that when we practice Dhamma, it is so hard, it is so difficult. Actually, when we know the Dhamma, Dhamma is like our breathing in and out. We can apply this Dhamma to our breathing in and out. According to Mahasatipatthana Sutta, we can do everything mindfully by practicing Dhamma. Whenever we are mindful, it means we are practicing Dhamma. Then we can see the results in this immediate life. Visible results, immediately effective. The more we practice generosity, we can see the results. And also when we spend a virtuous life, we can see the results and we can develop our happiness. When we concentrate our mind by using Samatha Bhavana, by reducing hindrances, we can see the results, which is happiness. We can see the beauty of our minds. And also especially when we practice Vipassana Bhavana, reflect on impermanence. Every moment our mind arises and ceases. We contact this world at this moment. Buddha explains the nature of our life. Sabbang ahutva sambhutang hutva nabhavisati. This is the deep concept in Buddhism. Every moment, our eye arises and ceases, forms arises and ceases, mind consciousness, eye contact, everything, every moment arises and ceases. the very special thing, when we see the visible results, we should know the Dhamma very clearly. Normally we can understand we should practice generosity, we should practice 5 precepts, we should practice metta bhavana. It is very common. But if we want to see the visible results, immediately effectiveness, we should keep our mind in the highest truth. What is that? We can see something at the moment. We can contact something at the moment. But when we recognize it, the very first experience has ceased. We can contact something through our eyes. We can contact the color. But when we understand a person, the very first experience, eye, form, eye consciousness, eye contact, everything has ceased. When we recognize something, we understand everything through our mind consciousness. Sabbe Dhamma mano viññāna dhātuya viññeya. Everything should be realized by mind consciousness. Then we see the world as empty. This is the highest way that we can see the highest results, which are 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃, visible results, immediately effective. And 𝐵𝑢𝑝anaiko, by practicing in our own lives, we can see the results, and also having results by practicing Dhamma, we can invite anyone, come and see, not come and believe. Buddhism never says us to come and believe. Buddhism invites us to come and see. That is the very important thing. There are several religions in this world, they always say that come and believe me. But Buddhism never says us that. Come and see it. How do we see it? By practicing Dhamma. And also, 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃 viññohi, it should be personally realized by the wise. That is very important. The Buddha says, when we go forward on this path, especially we should have very primary qualities, according to 𝐵𝐻 Sutta. 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝒌 ℉𝐵𝐻 ℒ𝒶𝓃. 𝒂𝐻𝐿𝒌, we should be honest. Honesty is very important on this path. And ℒ𝒶𝓃, active listening. We should be gently spoken. We should have good attention when someone explains this message. And also ℉𝐵𝐻. ℉𝐵𝐻 means we should be wise. This is a very sensitive message. Therefore, always we should be wise. When someone explains the Dhamma, we attentively listen to this message mindfully and silently. And also the very important thing, while we are listening to Dhamma, we can liberate from suffering. According to Vimuttayatana Sutta, listening to Dhamma also one of the places where we liberate from suffering. Vimuttayatana, Dhamma savana. Dhamma desana also, preaching Dhamma also is a place where we liberate from suffering. In Buddha's time, many disciples attained Maggaphala, enlightenment, while they were listening to Dhamma. Mostly we think that we attain enlightenment while we are closing eyes. It is also we can see sometimes, but mostly disciples attain enlightenment while they were listening to Dhamma. But it should be very careful listening. Attentively we listening to Dhamma. while we are listening to Dhamma, if we are mindful, and also if we can practice insight meditation, arising and ceasing of five aggregates, it helps us to overcome suffering at the moment. And also, when some monks were preaching Dhamma, they also have attained enlightenment. Like 𝒮𝓾 Sutta. You can prefer 𝒮𝓾 Sutta, which comes in Samyutta Nikaya. While Bhante 𝒮𝓾 was preaching Dhamma, the audience, there were 60 monks. All of them attained enlightenment. End of the sermon. You know, very wonderful thing. At the end of the sermon, Bhante 𝒮𝓾, who preached Dhamma, he also attained the enlightenment. He started his message, Dhamma sermon, as an anagami person, not returning person. While he was preaching Dhamma, he attained enlightenment. Therefore, not only listening to Dhamma, but even preaching Dhamma also a place where we liberate, where we attain enlightenment. Therefore, if we are listening to the clear message of the Blessed One, it helps us to overcome suffering. We are so fortunate. We are listening to the world reality as it is. The Buddha says, this message doesn't belong to Buddha. Whether a Buddha appears or not, this message is forever. We respect the Supreme Buddha because in this eon, he is the person who realized this message firstly by himself, and he proclaimed this message to the world with great compassion and wisdom. That is why we respect the Buddha. That is why we say that this is Buddha Dhamma, the message of the Buddha. But Buddha explained his message as Dhammocha Vinayocha, Dhamma Vinaya. In his words, he explained Dhamma and Vinaya. Dhamma means the teachings that we have to practice, such as Four Noble Truths, the dependent origination, so on. And Vinaya means the monastic codes. These are the things what the Buddha explained. These are the qualities of the Dhamma. Swakāta, Sandittika, Akālika, Ehipassika, Opanayika, Pacchattam Veditamba, Viññāti. And also, when we practice Dhamma, first of all, we should understand the Buddha's message in short. Sabba pāpa sakaranam, not to do evil. Kusala supasambada, practicing good deeds. Sajitta paryodapanam, purifying one's mind. This is the Buddhist vision. And also, when we practice Dhamma, we find the path. Sīle patiṭṭhāya naro sapañño, cittaṃ paññañca bhāvayam. The wise person practice concentration and wisdom based on virtue or sila. Sila, samadhi, pañña. Virtue, tranquility or concentration, and insight meditation or wisdom. This is the path. As the result of practicing this path, we can see the benefits or results. Ārogya paramalabha, santutti paramandanam, visāsa paramāñāti, nibbāna paramansukam. Ārogya paramalabha, health is the greatest gaining. Santutti paramandanam, happiness or contentment is the greatest treasure. Visāsa paramāñāti, trustworthiness is the best kinship. Nibbāna paramansukhaṃ, Nibbāna or enlightenment is the highest bliss. This is the result of the practice. Ārogya paramalabha, it is not just the physical health but mental health. According to Māgandhya Sutta, Buddha says, Ārogya paramalabha means it is not just the physical health. We can be healthy for 100 years, But without Arhantas, it is very difficult to find persons who are mentally healthy. Buddha says, 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃 āturesu anatura, āturesu manusyesu viharama anatura. Let's live happily without mental illnesses among who are mentally ill. When someone is greedy, we can be happy. I am not greedy. I am very generous. That is the way how we can be happy. When other persons are shouting and quarreling and struggling with others, we can say, I am so calm, I don't struggle with others. I have no fight with others. When other people are so angry, we can say that I am not angry. That is why the Buddha says, 𝒮𝓃 verinesu averino, verinesu manusyesu viharama averino. Let's live happily without anger among who are angry. When someone is angry, be silent, be happy. Even though that person is angry, I am not angry. You should not show your qualities, but you can be happy thinking about your own life. That is the way how we develop our happiness. The important thing, when we practice Dhamma, we can see the results. The more we practice the Dhamma, the more we are happier. The more we are happier, the more we are encouraged by ourselves. We have courage, inner motivation to go forward on this path by practicing Dhamma, by seeing the results. Especially when we are happy, we are hurried to practice this message in this immediate life. Since we know very well, we have received a very blissful message, very rare message. 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃 ℒ𝒏𝓃. Buddha's birth is a bliss. 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒦𝑑hamma desana. Dhamma, or listening to Dhamma is very rare and it is a bliss, it is a blessing. We are so fortunate. We have received the Buddha Sasana. We have received this valuable message, the sublime message, what the Buddha explained, and he realized. And also, by practicing Dhamma, especially when we eradicate defilements, negative thoughts from our mind, we can see the beauty of our mind. And finally, we have to practice only one breath in and out. Even though a lot of teachings in Buddhism, our entire life is the present moment. Our entire life is one breath in and out. If we can mindful in one breath in and out, so sato vassa sati, sato passa sati, he is breathing in and out mindfully with awareness. At once we have only one breath. We have to practice Dhamma at once, one breath. We have only one breath in at once. Mindfulness is the way how we use this message. Starting breathing in and out with awareness, finally we go to aniccanupassī asasi samiti sikkati, aniccanupassī viharati passasi samiti sikkati. We breathe in and out, contemplating on impermanence. Everything is impermanent. Everything is arising and ceasing. Every moment, our senses, eye, ear, nose, so on. These senses arises at the moment. And outside, the objects also arise at the moment. Form, sound, smell, these things arise at the moment. That is why the Buddha says, Sabbang ahutva sambhutang hutva nabhavisati. Everything not being occurred comes to occurrence, being occurred will not go to occurrence. The very present experience didn't come to the present from the past. This present experience will not go to future from the present. But the previous experience influenced the present moment. The present moment influences the next moment, but nothing goes here and there as permanently. This is the Buddha's message. Buddha says, this is the way how we see the Buddha. Yo Dhammam passati, so mam passati. He who sees the Buddha sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. If we can see this message correctly, that is the way how we see the Buddha. Again, Buddha says, Yo patisampadam passati, so dhammam passati. Yo dhammam passati, so patisampadam passati. He who sees the dependent origination sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the dependent origination. How do we see it? Whenever we are ignorant, what is the ignorance? Ignorance means when we see something, when we hear something, when we taste something, when we smell something, if we think that this experience was here before I experienced it, after experience it will remain. For an example, when you came here, you might think that this hall was here before I came. Even though I will live here, this hall will remain. Is it true? It is true according to conventional truth. With that conventional truth, we can cultivate meritorious deeds. We can be reborn in a blissful life. But we are unable to overcome the samsaric circle. If we want to overcome the samsaric circle, we should come to the next level of the truth, which is the ultimate truth, Paramattha Satya. What is the Paramattha Satya, which is ultimate truth? We always create the world. The world arises when we open our senses at the moment. According to conventional truth, even though you are sleeping, there are worlds. There are something in the world. The trees are falling in the Amazon forest, even though you are sleeping, even though you don't know. That belongs to the conventional truth. What is the ultimate truth? The real truth. The real truth depends on the five aggregates. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Not only Rupa forms, but we recognize the world through these five things. Form, Rupa, Vedana, feelings, Sanya, perception, Sankhara, mental formations, and Vijnana, consciousness. With these five things, we recognize the world. Whenever we recognize something or someone, our mind has these 5 things. Even we dream something, we find a person or thing when we are dreaming, when we are seeing the dreams. We create the world with these 5 things. Not only that, we depend on these 5 things. Especially we depend on the material world because we don't know the material world has already ceased. It doesn't mean that there is no material world. Actually, there is a material world which consists with the 4 fundamental elements. Earth element, water element, fire element, air element. With these 4 elements, there is a world. But that material world depends on our perception, our consciousness, our mental formations, our feelings. And also that experience arises and ceases at the moment. If we don't know this reality, we are in the samsaric circle, avidya paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnana, and so on. Finally, we go to bhava paccaya jati, jati paccaya jara marana. With the arising of ignorance, mental formations arise. With the arising of mental formations, vijnana, consciousness. This is the way how the world arises. As the result of this misunderstanding, bhava paccaya jati, with the arising of becoming, we come to rebirth. When we come to birth, jati paccaya jara marana soka parideva. As a result of rebirth or becoming, we have decay, sickness, death, sorrow, so on. Whenever we see there is something, it means we are in the samsaric circle which consists with suffering such as decay, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, so on. Whenever we see the world wisely, how do we see the world wisely? As soon as we recognize, we understand the world, the material world has ceased, we recognize everything through our mind consciousness. When we understand something through our mind consciousness, the world is empty. If we have this understanding, we have no ignorance. 𝐓𝐢𝐩𝐢𝐻 𝒮𝓃 viraga nirodha sankhara nirodho. With the complete cessation of ignorance, mental formations cease. So on. Finally, bhava nirodha jati nirodho. With the cessation of the process of becoming, the birth ceases. Jati nirodha, jara marana, soka parideva, dukkha domana, supayasa nirujjanti. With the complete cessation of birth, decay, sickness, death, sorrow, all the sufferings gradually cease. He who sees this process of the Paticca dependent origination, sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. This is the way how we see the Buddha. Dhamma and the Buddha are interrelated. The more we understand the Buddha, the more we understand the Dhamma. The more we understand the Dhamma, the more we understand the Buddha. The more we understand the Buddha and the Dhamma, the more we understand the Sangha. Sangha means he who practices this message in his entire life. Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Moggallana, Venerable Mahakassapa, Venerable Ananda, Venerable Sivali, Kaccayana, they are the people who practice this message in his entire life. These three things, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, are interrelated. If you have this understanding, in one side we have this triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. We are not alone. Always we are living with the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. On the other side, we practice Dhamma. What is the practice? 3 disciplines, 3 trainings, virtue, sila, samadhi, concentration, and finally wisdom, reflecting on impermanence. This is the message what the Buddha realized. These are the qualities of the Dhamma. In this handout, you can see the summary what I explained here, the triple gem, the 5 precepts, and Buddha's message in several stages, levels, and also vision and mission in Buddhism. Vision means understanding the world according to karmic law and the dependent origination. Mission means 3 meritorious deeds and 3 trainings, and also the ultimate goal of life, happiness. Reducing and overcoming 3 unwholesome negativities, greed, hatred and delusion, we come to the highest bliss or happiness. For that, our best friend is mindfulness. Especially, we should keep our attention in this area every moment. No matter whether you are practicing sitting meditation or not, keeping our attention in this area is very, very important. Whenever we are aware of the 𝒮𝓃 ℒ𝒶𝓃, the end of the nose or upper lip, it means you can apply your highest knowledge of the Dhamma. Keeping our attention in this area, we can practice Ānāpānasathi Bhavana, Buddha Hanusati, Metta Bhavana. Finally, we can practice even insight meditation, reflecting on impermanence of 5 aggregates, keeping our attention here while you are sweeping, while you are walking, while you are cooking, while you are washing your clothes, while you are driving. You are in the highest level of practice of Dhamma, which is insight meditation. When we close our eyes and meditate, there we can practice Samatha Bhavana, having concentrated mind while we are opening and working outside world. We can practice insight meditation. That is the very important thing. But we should follow the SMS concept. There is a Buddhist SMS concept, What is that? Silently, mindfully, slowly. Silently, mindfully, slowly. The more you practice Dhamma, the more we are silent. If you talk something, that should be consist with Dhamma. Dhammīva katā ariyova tunhi bhavo. If you talk something, that should be consistent with the Dhamma. If not, we should maintain noble silence. When we practice Dhamma, that is the place where we enjoy our life. When we enjoy our life, we are very silent, since our happiness doesn't depend on outside persons or things. Our happiness depends on our mindfulness, our practice. Our best friend is here. You always find best friend in the outside world. Who is you? Who are you? Where are you from? What is your email address? What is your phone number? What is your education? Where did you study? Always we look at the happiness from the outside world. But when we come to the Dhamma, the best friend is here. Mind with mindfulness is the best friend. Mind without mindfulness is the worst enemy. Mind with mindfulness is the best friend. Mind without mindfulness is the worst enemy. Buddha says very clearly, we can win hundreds of enemies in the outside world. That is not difficult. What is the difficult thing? Winning our own mind. Reducing negative thoughts from our mind. The real enemies are inside. Who are the enemies? Anger, jealousy, greed, ignorance, unmindfulness, or conceit. These are the enemies who are inside, who are disturbing our peace of mind. There are no enemies in the outside world. For that, we have to listen to this message again and again through association with the good friends, and also we should have wise consideration, yoniso manasikara, and also we have to practice Dhamma as Sila Samadhi Panya. Okay, friends in the Dhamma, as the result of this practice, we gradually develop wisdom, Panya. Panya is divided into three: Sutameya Panya, the wisdom of hearing; Chintameya Panya, the wisdom of contemplating on; and Bhavanameya Panya, the wisdom of meditation. When we listen to Dhamma, that is the place where we develop our wisdom as Sutameya Panya, the wisdom of hearing. Whenever you do your daily activities, you have to think it again and again. That is Chintameya Panya, the wisdom of thinking. When you meditate as Samatha and Vipassana, that is the place where we practice Bhavanameya Panya, the wisdom of meditation. For that, we should go forward gradually, having good qualities. Day by day, we should cultivate our inner qualities in our life. All the qualities depend on gratitude. In the primary level, our qualities depend on our gratitude. When we go to the highest level for the liberation, Saddha Mulika Sabbepi Kusala Dhamma, all the wholesome activities depend on confidence or Saddha in what the Buddha taught. Gratitude and Saddha are very important. In our social life, our human life, our ethical life, gratitude is very, very important. Buddha says very clearly, all the good qualities depend on gratitude. On the other side, when we go forward on the path of liberation, Saddha or confidence is very, very important. What is the confidence? Confidence means what the Buddha realized and what he explained. When we have saddha, we have energy, mindfulness, concentration, and finally wisdom. Saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya, 5 spiritual faculties. Okay, friends, in the Dhamma, now we are coming to the end of the lecture, our Dhamma talk, sermon. If you have any question, you can ask those questions in the next session, in our Dhamma discussion. And for now, we are going to end this talk, Dhamma sermon. We discussed the Buddha's message in short, and also the qualities of the Dhamma, and what are the steps of the Dhamma. We discussed everything is summarized here. You can refer the handout and you can learn some more things. According to our 1 hour sermon, we concluded everything here. Okay? Thank you so much for your good activities, good listening to the sermon, good participation. As a result of acquiring positive thoughts by listening to Dhamma, we accrue a lot of meritorious deeds and spiritual developments. By the power of this spirituality, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May all your spiritual and educational goals meet with success. Finally, may all of us attain the supreme bliss of liberation. Dukkham pantāca nirdukkhaṃ, bhayam pantāca nirbhayam, sokam pantāca nissokāṃ, hontu sabbe pipānino. All beings be well, happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.